Okay, I am joined by the incredible Evan Seinfeld, bassist, vocalist, and founding member of one of the most important hardcore metal bands from the 80s, 90s, and flexing those amazing muscles, the band Biohazard. Now, first of all, my friend, how are you? You've got a beautiful tropical Mexican background going on there. I am jealous.
With a Mexican guy picking up the leaves right now, who stepped into my well framed shot that I was so proud of. In Spanish, we say orgulloso, like proud. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing good. Tomorrow I fly to New York, and we're doing an in-store appearance with a tiny desk. Um, and I guess we're going to be streaming it live, probably on our Instagram, because tomorrow is the release date of About Every Fall, and just enjoying a beautiful day at the beach today. You know,
Cool. Now, you've got the new album coming out, I believe, on the 17th of October, if I've got those dates right. Divided We Fall. And the first, or not the first, sorry, the latest single from that is Fuck the System, which really does feel like a wake-up call of a song, and I believe that's how it's been intended. Now, what's, the personal message behind this tune, for you? When you look at the state of the world right now, and what's it doing, in ways of pushing, your own anger and frustration at the system the most.
well, for me, like Biohazard, we're four guys. We started out on a street corner in Flatbush together. Standing around like a bunch of knuckleheads, thinking that Brooklyn was the world. And then we traveled a little bit, and we wrote Urban Discipline, seeing that you know the the man's inhumanity against man, and the way we're so at odds with one another is not a local problem to guys from the street corner in Brooklyn. We thought we were special. And then, our global view after touring the world, State of the World address, you literally came out of your mouth, you said the state of the world. Everybody has an opinion. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. And it doesn't mean their opinion is right or good. Uh, and popular opinion is often swayed by issues that are tabled for us by people in power who want us to take the bait. It seems like there's a few entities, whatever they may be, that call the shots of what everybody's picking one side or another about. Me personally, it's not my agenda. I spend the majority of my time solo traveling, and Tulum, Mexico, is like my home base, although I'm an American citizen. Uh, and I don't even fucking pay attention to what's going on. When I have to fly to USA and I hear the conversations, I just hear everybody's mad about something, and everybody wants you to believe what they believe because they think they're right. And man, something I learned in life, when there's some kind of disagreement or argument, it's like you have to decide if you want to be right or if you want to be happy, because rarely it's the same thing. And man, I'm turning 58 years old in 2 months. I just want to be happy, bro. I don't need you to fucking believe anything. Believe it whatever the fuck you want. I'm more interested in spiritual side of people. Uh, I've gone down a deep rabbit hole of journey inward, and change in the world starts with ourselves. So I'm focused on self development and trying to be a better version of myself. Trying to inspire other people to be mindful. I wasn't always mindful, and you kind of get to stop and look at yourself. It can be a rude awakening sometimes, because we have a lot of us, me included, can and have gracias, lack self-awareness. And man, on the way here to this interview, I was in the car with Carlos, he's my driver, and Carlos is Mexican, he's Mayan, he grew up here in Quintana Roo. And there was a guy laying on the side of the road, on the side, just laying there. And in downtown LA, people step right over homeless people like they're a piece of garbage in the street. And that's the culture. If you stopped to help a homeless person or offer them some help, other non-homeless people would say, "What's wrong with you, man? Like you're not with all of us and our thinking that's all so alike." And my heart stopped. We stopped the car. We got out. We woke the guy up. He was drunk. He passed out there in the middle of the night. Gave him some money to get a taxi, and we helped him up. And like, it's got to start. You know, anybody who wants to affect change, it's got to start with us, right?
Yeah, of
So,
course.
you know, this is where I'm at. You know, the album, the song "Fuck the System" is really just like question everything. Don't take the bait. You know, uh, don't tell me who's left. Don't tell me who's right, which is kind of a double entendre. Because in America, there's you know, the party system as you have in the UK,
Yeah.
you know, very similar, you know, motherfuck setup. But, you know, hey, everybody, pick a side. You know, you're not allowed to have your own ideas. If your ideas don't fit in this box of a set of ideas that were curated by some people with their own agenda, you're fucked up. You know, and so many people have this kind of fascist attitude that supersedes politics. That's like narcissistic. It's like, man, yo, man, if you don't fucking believe what I believe, fuck you, man. You
Yeah.
know,
No, for sure. And it's interesting that you mentioned like how things have been moving into this sort of fascist realm, like almost on a global level. Like it feels like we haven't learnt from the past in a weird kind of way. And
we
there's a
have not. It
yeah,
doesn't seem like we
but
clearly
you're right.
haven't.
Yeah.
We continue to make the same mistakes again and again. You
Yeah.
know,
So the single it does, tackle themes of divide and control. And this is sort of in the title of the record, Divided We Fall, which echoes this sentiment really. How much of this record, reflects Biohazard's view on society at the moment being manipulated, you guys as a whole?
all of it, all of that's what it's like a concept album almost about, you know, reaching inside yourself, finding your truth, and, you know, not marching to the beat of somebody else's drum because it's what everybody else is doing. Change comes from, you know, brave people being willing to be laughed at, ridiculed, you know, been on the butt end of peer pressure. Um, this kind of mob mentality that exists. Look at the fucking racism in America. Fucking disgusting. You know, it's hard for me. You know, me and uh, me and Danny went to the same school, right? As kids, and we grew up in a multiracial neighborhood, and we remember the, you know, the '70s and the '80s when people were like overtly racist. Everybody was so proud of their racism, white and black people. And we were kids who had friends that were black and Hispanic and Asian and Indian and lived in fucking New York City as the melting pot of the world. And also to see people are so focused on, um, if you're like them, are we the same? You know, there's this whole secret thing of like, hey, you know, uh, I'm Christian and you're Christian. Ha 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 ha. We share a set of ideas. I know I can trust you now. And it's kind of a step in the right direction because really we need to focus on our similarities, not our differences. That's the point. You know, there's this idea that everybody's just looking for what's wrong in the world. People walk into a room to assess the situation if it's up to their expectations. This is this kind of post-pandemic insanity that's set in, that everybody's so, you know, so many people start their sentences with, I can't believe blah, 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 blah. And I'm always like, why, why did you say that? Like, why can't you believe this? What is it about the situation that you can't believe? And what are you going to do about it? Are you going to choose to believe everything is what it is, or are you going to continue to live in disharmony with the world around you because you expected it to be another way? Something, when we expect something outside of our control to be the way we want it to be, wow, we're fucked up, you know.
Yeah. Cool. Now, you guys have always been quite outspoken on like social and political issues, as you've already highlighted here. Now, when you look back at songs from the past, like Punishment and Shades of Grey and things like that, do you feel the world has changed for the better or the worse since those messages hit? Or is it just the same, or the same, but with new bullshit, essentially?
I don't know. I think the technology has twisted us up. It's hard, and my look is skewed. I'm looking at the younger generation trying to understand. You know, um, I think it's weird. I have a lot of young people around me. My son is 30 and he's an artist, and he's a really prolific artist. He's making his album right now, and he also works for Biohazard. And I see the way he and his friends move and operate. And obviously, I run a big men's program down here in Mexico that we do pop-up meetings all over the world where men sit and share our feelings. So I kind of know what goes on in the minds of men. And I feel like there's a lot of us have gotten away from family and from friend groups that get together and do things, and everybody's more like in a group text and overthinking what they're going to say because they want to know how it's going to be received. Everyone's asking ChatGPT, does this sound like I'm a weak person? Does this sound like I'm needy? Does this sound like I'm not cool? um, the advent of social media and everybody kind of accepting that everybody has an opinion about everything you say and do has made people overthink and become guarded, and we get far away from our authentic selves. And I think in our authenticity, where that's the truth of who we are as humans. But I think we get very far away from that. We spend all our time in our phones, spend a lot of time online, um, and escaping reality. And so, to answer your question, I think that younger generations are kinder people. I feel like people are getting better, but the way we interact has gotten worse.
Ooh. So
If
there is
that
a bit
makes
of
any sense.
light. Sorry?
Yeah, this is not a bleak picture, man. I'm a positive minded person.
Yeah.
I'm not just complaining about it. I'm like, what do we do? I'm in the
Yeah.
solution. The solution is to live in your truth and have a life that's fulfilled. Because when you have a fulfilled life, you have a high vibration and you lift up the people around you, and you're not a grumbling complainer. But if everybody in the world could listen to themselves for a whole day, me included, we might be fucking appalled at the things that come out of our mouths and the things we say. And if we analyze it, we'd say, wow, you have a complete negative and poverty mindset. You're only focused on what you don't have, what you're not getting. You have no gratitude for what you do have. You're not happy. You're dissatisfied with your own life, although you have a lot of things that you could be grateful for. Maybe the only thing you're missing in your life is gratitude.
Do you know what? I really dig that. That is like in the bleakness of a lot of that what goes on, that is really quite profound and actually quite uplifting. So, hey, you've touched me in that regards, which is absolutely amazing. Now, getting back to the album, Divide We Fall or Divided We Fall, it's the first Biohazard record in over a decade, which, for fans, this is one of the best things that you could give us, let's be honest, in this bleak world we've discussed. And it's with the original lineup as well, which is an even bigger gift for fans. What was the turning point that made you guys, all come back together and, decide we're going to make this happen?
Well, once again, like talking about authenticity, We hadn't spoken in years. I was off doing my own thing. You know, when the band, broke up, I left the band. They continued for a year or two, and then they broke up. And the band was on a hiatus for, I don't know, 10 years. Uh, if you haven't evolved some in 10, 12 years, something wrong. And, we're not always evolving if we're not conscious. And I needed to do my own growth and evolution and learning to let go of things in the past and look at the opportunity for what it is and how grateful I am for the chance to play with these amazing brothers and musicians who are so talented that we get together and do something magical. And the timing just felt right. I ran into Danny's brother in the airport. Next thing I know, I'm on the phone with Danny. I'm on the phone with Billy, with Bobby. I'm meeting up with Billy in LA in person. And we decide, let's get together and jam and see what's the vibe. And we did. And then next thing we know, we had a manager and we had an agent and we were getting presented offers for festivals. And we got out there and we were like, holy fuck, we're better than we were before. This is really rare. It was like, a lot of people make a joke. It was like a time capsule. Like you buried it, you bring it up, and these guys are still in great shape. And they can still jump up and down. And fuck, I sing better now than I used to. And I play better now than I used to. And I can say that about the other guys as well, who, all spent a decade honing our craft with musicians, And we weren't planning any of this. It kind of just organically happened, came together like Voltron.
I love that analogy. Um, you
I,
know,
by the way, that was pilfered from the Wu-Tang Clan. Just just saying. That's the
cool.
Riz's joke. That's the Riz's joke, not mine.
At least
But
you're going to give the credit where it's due.
shout out Bobby Digital. He's from the next neighborhood over from me.
Cool.
We grew up when Biohazard played shows with Wu-Tang in the 90s, it was like Rage Against the Machine and Biohazard and Wu-Tang on a bunch of festivals. We all got to know each other a little bit because we had loosely known each other around. We all met in New York. And I found out that I grew up really close to me and Danny lived really close to the RZA and Old Dirty Bastard. We're from Brooklyn, the two of them. And we were like, get the fuck out of here. You're like the next neighborhood over. And what are the odds? We're standing here in Sweden in front of 80,000 people. You know, life, life is, life can be amazing, but you could even be having a moment like that and not appreciate it. You could be thinking about, man, I wish we were playing on at a better time slot. Oh, I wonder why we're not the headliner today. Blah, blah. You can tell yourself a bunch of negative self-talk. But to get into that abundance mindset doesn't just happen to you. You have to work at it.
Good. Now, looking towards like live shows that are potentially coming up, that touch wood, I hope to see you in the UK very soon. We've missed you. Which tracks from the new record, are you most excited to unleash and, input into a set list?
Um, Man, I'm so hyped on the new album, and my favorites have changed, month by month. So it's hard for me to say live. I'm really curious to see what happens when we play Fight to Be Free live, because it's like such a chunky, mechanical. Uh, it's strong, it's powerful. I believe that's going to move the people. That's what we do. It was like being able to go back and make Urban Discipline over again with the knowledge of how to touch the crowd, how to get people to feel something, And personal favorites at the moment, because of course everyone's going to expect us to play Fuck the System and Forsaken and Eyes on Six because they were videos. But my personal favorites at the moment are Warriors. The last song on the album, I think, is special. I can imagine the whole crowd singing "Warrior," like like fucking like a like a bunch of like tribal warriors in the jungle, and or Vikings in your case. Uh, and I really like right now. I Will Overcome is like my song in the gym that I'm like, I get fucking crazy when I hear it, and I feel like it takes so many cool twists and turns. Um, but like ultimately, I'm really most excited about the breakdown in Fight to Be Free, to see what happens when we play that live anywhere, because it's like it's a Biohazard song. It's got a groove, it's got a bounce, it's got a fast part, it's got a groove, it's got a bounce, it's got a fast part, and then it's got this like this instrumental build up with Danny's going crazy on the drums that like sets the tone, and then it just fucking drops. And I would have been sure about it when I was 19, and I'm sure about it today. But if if I was seeing a band and they played this riff and sang the way we sang, man, I would fucking go insane and be just bouncing off people. I expect people climbing on the ceiling.
Proper old school Biohazard gig. Now, what's funny is I've definitely got this on my playlist waiting to go for when I get myself to the gym and the album's actually out. Because, like you say, there's just so much energy to it, what I've heard so far. I'm not even going to be able to give myself an excuse that I'm like too tired or too lazy. It'll just happen. Now, I've only got a couple more questions for you, and they are more on the lighter side. And this is a question I've actually personally always wanted to ask a member of Biohazard, because I'm a massive fan of the games Resident Evil. Now, I'm sure you must have heard of them, but when they first came out, they were called Biohazard in Japan, and they had to change their name for North America and Europe, and it was because you guys existed. What's your personal view on that? Because I find it just incredible how like your
I don't,
band
I don't, I
influenced.
don't, I don't know that we had anything to do with them changing their name.
Okay.
People using, Biohazard is a trademark in the United States and other countries for, when you own a name of something, a trademark or a copyright, especially a trademark, it's for a certain use in a certain territory for a certain amount of time with parameters. I can't decide to make a soda called Pepsi, even in Japan, if it confuses people, if it causes confusion in the marketplace. I'm not entirely sure if it became Resident Evil Biohazard,
Yeah.
you know, that they can do because nobody thinks it's us. But the idea that somebody might make sales off of your name or confuse your brand and think now you're making video games, not that I would think it's a bad thing. Fuck, man, I did voiceovers in 3 different Grand Theft Auto games: San
Yeah.
Andreas, Vice City, Backyard Wrestling, Saints Row. I've been in a ton of shit. Um, I think games are immersive, and they can be expansive, but like anything else, they can be uh, escapist and habit forming too. So I'm a fan of Resident Evil.
Yeah. I just thought it was a fascinating thing when I actually first read it. So yeah, it was great to get your sort of take on that. Now, finally, and I've been asking a few people that I've interviewed this question because it's just something a bit of fun. If a zombie apocalypse broke out right now, what would your survival plan be? You know, would you charge in with a baseball bat, build the barricades, or just kick back with your base and just wait for it to blow over?
Well, um, good question. You know, living in downtown LA when the pandemic broke out, I thought it was the zombie apocalypse. So my reaction was I I gathered my at the time my woman and my son, and I uh we gathered supplies for survival. Lots of stuff, canned goods, food. We didn't know what was going to happen. Downtown LA was like a war zone, you know, police, homeless people, everybody afraid that they're going to die from touching something. And I was worried people were going to try to come take our shit or take our house. So I rented a house in the middle of Palm Springs in the desert in a gated community, and got all my weaponry and my guns together, uh, and was just prepared to hold peace. We worked out every day. I joined an online jump rope challenge. I got really in good shape, and we lived. And I conducted online business and did what I could do. But I thought that was this. Every night I was up on the roof with the gun, seeing, because we were expecting zombies to show up. You know,
That's
so
fair. See, what happened in England? We had a toilet paper shortage. That's what happened with us. Everyone panicked and bought toilet paper. That's what we
us
did.
too, us too.
It's like the zombie apocalypse. It wasn't even a shitting disease. Evan, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Divided We Fall is out on the 17th of October, and me personally, I cannot wait to hear the full record. Thank you so much, sir. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, man.
Okay, brother. See you. Thank you.
See you, mate. Bye.
Cheers.